All right, TJ, thanks for being here today, man. I'm stoked to chat with you. It's not every day I get to chat with up and coming ghostwriters who are crushing it on LinkedIn. How are you doing today?
Good, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. It's been a busy week so far, but overall pretty good. So
Man, busy week. That actually leads to one of the first questions that I wanted to ask you. So, from my understanding, you're working a full-time job and you're
yes.
ghostwriting. How the heck do you manage your time?
Yeah, it's I mean it can get hectic. Um I tend to so yeah, I have a 9 to 5 and I do also do ghostwriting. So I wake up usually like I do ghostwriting pretty early in the mornings before I start work. Mostly because like that's like my most creative time. So I wake up,
Mm,
write, and then finish all of that before work starts. And sometimes I'll go into the evenings like after my work finishes. But yeah, it's tough. And like all obviously the end goal is to, take this full time. So I have a lot more time to do, but yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, the full-time job plus ghostwriting, where we all start, is definitely the toughest part of the grind. Can you give us a bit of background? What's your work experience? What job are you working now, and what got you interested in ghostwriting?
Yeah. So my career, like I'm an engineer, software engineer. So I write code, I build apps, work at a pretty big tech company. And that's what I've been doing for like 6 years now. So how this all started is roughly a year ago. I was like, you know what? I want to like grow a business. I've always had the idea to do it, but never really got like a reason to do it. Until last year because of like all like the tech layoffs and stuff. And I was like, this is definitely not as stable as it seems. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna, grow my own business. Now, obviously, like I have a pretty good income, so I can't just like quit my job and do it. So I created like a product in my free time and stuff. It's something that I use myself. It's like a resume editor app, and I grew that by basically I would just like work on the weekends, write about it on LinkedIn, and people would like see my posts and they would come and like use it, and some of them would convert to paying customers. So that's how I got into like business itself.
Mhm.
And yeah, so like the app, like I didn't do any ads, nothing, just straight up like post on LinkedIn about it, and got like quite lot of like users. Like at the peak, there was about 100,000 users that would like use it. Not all paid. Yeah, it's a free freemium like tool, but some of those were paid. Um, and
Mhm.
yeah, so that's how I got into the business. But at some point, the like BTC has its own challenges. It's like the price point is a little bit lower, a lot of like churn. So I was like, okay, I really want to like pivot to B2B, but what can
Mhm.
I offer? The first thing that I thought of was like, okay, maybe I could do like software engineering for like people, like for companies, like build products for them, but there's so many people doing that, and honestly like it's tough. And I thought to myself, well, I like writing and stuff, and I grew my own like product by just writing on LinkedIn. So how about I start writing on LinkedIn for people? And that's how I kind of got into like, okay, there's a business model called ghostwriting, and apparently people pay like a lot of money for it. And so that's how I got into it.
There's two things I would love to, or two threads I'd love to pull on from that. Like, one thing is you said you're working in tech, you're a programmer. Like, you have one of those jobs that a lot of people would consider themselves like, I've made it. Like, I'm doing the thing, I'm making good income working
Yeah.
with at these tech companies. But for you, you mentioned that you don't find that landscape to be as secure as people might think it could be. Could you speak a little bit more to that and your experience?
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. Yeah, and that's actually a great question. So one thing that I fundamentally believe is that like 5 years from now, like writing code, it's not gonna be like it used to be a great skill, that only like, is like a highly like sought after skill and people pay good money for it. Just like with all the tools that we have right now with AI, LLMs, all that, I fully believe like in 5 years from now, it's gonna be a commodity. And marketing and distribution, that's going to be like the moat that companies have. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be like the skill to learn for the next 5 years. And obviously like writing is basically that, like, like marketing, distribution, and all that. So,
That
and
would make
so
sense. Oh,
yeah.
sorry. Go, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, so that's basically like I thought to myself, like 5 years from now, do I still see myself as a software engineer? And that answer is no. And yeah, I think writing is going to be like a more important skill.
Mm. That would make sense too, why you would think about ghostwriting, because not only are you then building your own distribution channel, your own ability to get customers, but you're also going to be one of those irreplaceable pieces helping other people get customers for their products. Would you say that was a big reason why you chose ghostwriting over other things that you could have done, like Amazon FBA or even copywriting or something like that?
Yeah, for sure. It's like I do think like that's like the number one skill. If you can write like great content and grow a business that way, super
Mhm.
great skill. And so yeah, that's basically like a reason why I chose that.
Amazing. So getting into ghostwriting, I can imagine it wasn't the most smooth thing just from going from writing code to all of a sudden writing online, posting on LinkedIn. What was that like doing something new like that? And like, what was it like getting started? Sorry, we just had one of those like things where it's
Yeah.
like emergency alert for like all of the province. I'm like, well, why now? I gotta like huck my phone over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
Also,
I
I
think
think
your
your
microphone
microphone
changed. You're
changed.
echoing
Like hearing
yourself.
yourself. Okay, let's see. It's are we back to normal now? Oh wow, it switched automatically. It won't even let me switch back. You can still hear me okay though?
Yes. Okay, yeah, that's good. So I can't hear. That was a big thing that I couldn't hear myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
There we go.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. There's like an emergency alert that went off on my phone and my computer, and it just glitched everything out. One of those like province ones that's
Oh,
like,
dude. Yeah.
yeah, I'm very unlucky. I'll have to just like edit that part out and I'll splice it. So I'll ask
Yes.
the question again. So going from working as a software engineer to diving into writing content and posting on LinkedIn, what was that experience like, and what kind of struggles did you face taking the leap into
Yeah.
something so fresh?
Yeah, no, that was quite an experience. I would say like before I started like writing, I definitely had like a mentality of like, what, like, coding's like the top skill. Every company, the engineers are like the most important people. I
Mm-hmm.
now have like a newfound appreciation for like people, right? Because it is hard. It is not as easy as as it seems. And some people make it seem very easy, but it's not. So yeah, it was definitely hard in the beginning, just like starting from zero basically,
Mm-hmm.
and just like learning because it's like writing, you have to learn psychology, persuasion, so many things. So yeah, there's like a lot of like new things that I had to learn. And I definitely spent like a couple of months reading all sorts of like books and consuming all sorts of content just to learn about anything that I can.
And at this point, how did you come across our ghostwriting program or coaching program, Growth Ghost?
Yeah. Yeah. So I saw a thread by you on Twitter many months ago. And this was like a thread about like the third circle. I think it was like the third circle theory. Like you posted about a book, and I read through that thread, and I literally like ordered that book like the next day, and I remember like reading it on like a plane ride. Pretty great book. And ever since then, like I was like following your content for a few like months, and yeah, it's kind of like ironic because I was like, it's like you are a ghostwriter, and I didn't know that, but then like while I was like doing ghostwriting research, like I came across your Twitter. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I follow this guy. And yeah, so I was following you for a while, and then started following Dakota's content, and then it looked like I think around November you started heavily like talking about like you're gonna be launching like a program soon. I was like, okay, cool, yeah, that sounds like something that I want to join. So that's how I found out about it.
Awesome. Yeah, and since joining, you have had some pretty incredible success. Like I believe you started working at an agency, doing pretty well, and you've also landed your own client or clients at this point. What has that process been like, and how have we been able to help you shortcut to actually start making money through ghostwriting in such a short amount of time? Because you only joined like what, 1 or 2 months ago?
Yeah, 2 months ago, and it's been about
Mm-hmm.
like 6 weeks since I actually like started like like trying to like find like work. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, yeah, before I joined, I think at that point I had been in the space for about 2 months. Um, didn't know much about like I wrote on my LinkedIn account, posted daily, but the content was horrible. Didn't get too much engagement. Didn't know how to get like clients. Didn't even know really like how to like craft an offer. So, but once I joined, like yeah, that was like all those things that basically like it is like I would say cut down like that trial and error process down a lot because and
Mm-hmm.
the analogy that I've heard is like, it's like you could do it on your own, or you could like, if you're going somewhere, use like Google Maps, and it's kind of like, guiding you in the right direction. So that's like,
Mm-hmm.
that's the way I think about this program.
Gotcha. No, it's a great analogy. I've never heard that one before, but I'm gonna have to use that in content.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a perfect analogy.
Yeah. Why? So for a lot of people, they hear about ghostwriting, they're curious about it, but they're not sure if it's going to work for them or if it's the right time for them to dive into like a coaching program or to like actually just taking ghostwriting seriously as a potential full-time opportunity. Why did you decide that now was the time for you where you're like, I'm going to dive in, I'm going to take Growth Ghost? What was the big factor behind that decision?
Yeah. Well, so the thing for me, and this is like something that you talked about, in our first call, is like the biggest like reason for me was like the accountability part. Because I've taken like writing courses before, and I've read books about it. They all like, fundamentally like it's all like the same things that they're teaching, but
Mm-hmm.
so the accountability aspect of the program was like so huge for me, and that's like really what's like helped me the most
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, okay, I know this week I have to take like these actions, and even if they're small actions, they like move the needle so much, and so that's the reason why I joined, basically for that accountability.
Mm. Would you say there's been any big insights or unlocks for you since joining or things that you've learned that you were like, damn, this I would not have thought to do myself, or it would have taken you a long time to figure that out yourself? Is there anything that jumps out?
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, so quite a few things. The big things were like, okay, how do I grow like like number one, growing your own personal brand. Number two, like how do you even do that? And just like what kind of like content to write about. So before I joined the program, I wrote on LinkedIn a ton, but it was like all over the place. Basically not like for a specific audience. Once I joined, I kind of got that clarity of like, okay, this like I need to like, you know, zone in on a specific target audience and have all my content be around that. I know it sounds like so simple when I say it, but like I never thought about that before I joined the
Mm,
program. And just like the way of like the program teaches like how you should find like your target audience and the topics that you should talk about. So that was like something that was super helpful. And also one thing was like just like in terms of like focusing in on one thing. Like I think before I joined the program, if I wanted to do ghostwriting, I probably would have wrote on LinkedIn, wrote on Twitter, done YouTube, basically like be in all sorts of directions, not focusing on a specific thing. But I think
mm,
that's something that I really struggled with like before is like focusing on too many things. But the clarity that I got from the program was like, okay, just focus on one thing, go all on that, and then maybe branch out to other, other channels or distrib like, like sources of like a bit like other like avenues once you grow in one like particular thing.
Got you. And for you, that one particular thing is LinkedIn right now, correct?
Yes, yes, exactly.
And I know some people are a little bit like they just prefer from a personal value standpoint not to share this, but whatever element of this you can share would be great. Using just LinkedIn as your way to attract clients and build your ghostwriting business, what kind of business results and revenue have you been able to make in the past 2 months since joining?
Yeah, so it's really been the last like 6 weeks or so because that's when I really started looking for income growth. So far I've been able to like get it to like 4,000 a month, roughly approximately. And like I said, that's only been like 6 weeks. I haven't even done things like I don't do cold outbound, I don't do cold email, cold DMs, I don't do any of that. So I would say with like minimal effort, I've still been able to like grow my income. So one of my goals of joining this program was to replace my full-time job with like ghostwriting income. And I just know like with this trajectory, like I'm pretty confident like that's gonna be the case pretty soon. So
That is awesome. Some people, when they get into ghostwriting, they really struggle to land their first clients and find those opportunities. You said you haven't even been doing outreach and you've been putting in like minimal effort as you're going through the program and things like that. What do you attribute getting these paying opportunities to? Like, what's been the needle movers for you?
yeah, just like my own writing because like I said before I joined the program, my write it was like all over the place. It sucked. I wouldn't like I sometimes look back and I'm like, wow, yeah, that was pretty awful. But just like writing on my own account, I have people who like like inbound, like they reach out and they're like, oh yeah, your writing's pretty good. And that's how like basically I was able to get the opportunity so far.
So, have you found like what types of content do you find are working then for you to attract these types of opportunities?
Yeah. For me, when I talk about like writing or like things that work on LinkedIn, because one thing I've been doing is like looking at what other top creators do on LinkedIn and sort of breaking down what they do and then making content about that. That has been performing really well. And that is also like something I got like from the program. It's like, okay, um, when I'm writing about content, it's like I don't have any authority right now. So how do I build authority? Well, one way is to like educate people. And that's like what I've been sort of focusing on, and that's what's got me results. And I wouldn't have thought about that before I joined the program. And like I said, like when I say it, it sounds so simple, but it's not as intuitive unless you get like that clear direction from somebody.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. So, what's one piece of advice that you would have for an aspiring ghostwriter or even someone who's thinking maybe ghostwriting could be it for me and they're thinking about getting a mentor, joining a program, or just going all in? What's one piece of advice that you would have for them?
Yeah. So like I said before, I've taken courses before, but most of those courses they don't have like the mentorship or accountability aspect of it. And like every course like sort of teaches the same or at least two things that always come up in like any single course or like content lesson is like number one, remove like limiting beliefs. Number two, take action. They teach that, but they don't like you know, sort of like there's no like framework that makes students or people in the course to like actually implement those things for this program, especially because they're like the mentorship aspect of it. I feel like both those things, like removing limiting beliefs and taking action, it's really, it sort of helps that like the mentorship aspect. So if someone is like, super serious about doing ghostwriting as a business, definitely like I would, get a mentor, one that can keep you accountable, point you in the right direction. save so much time. And I think like and so like join like the funny thing is, so when I joined the program, when I hopped on like that first call with you, you told me the cost. I was like, oh, I didn't expect this to be this expensive. But I was like, you know what? I'm already here. I'm gonna like do all I can. And in 6 weeks, I've basically almost made back like the ROI. So
Damn. That's a banger way for us to end this. I guess the the only final thing that I want to ask you then is for anyone who's interested in either working with you as their ghostwriter, or sorry, hiring you as their ghostwriter, I should say, not being your ghostwriter, or they just want to chat with you about potentially getting into ghostwriting or connect because they like your vibe. Where can they find you?
LinkedIn, yeah, just search me up on LinkedIn, TJ Patel.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, TJ. This has been awesome to see your
Yep,
trajectory, your successes, and I look forward to seeing you
for
keep winning.
sure.
It's going to be awesome.
For sure. Thanks, Taylor.
Sweet.